They don't say, I love you. They don't text every day. They don't express feelings clearly. And you start to wonder, is this even real? Here's the truth. Avoidants don't love like everyone else. They love in silence, in actions, in fleeting moments that speak louder than words ever could. Loving an avoidant is not for the faint of heart. It takes strength to read between the lines and recognize the hidden signs of real affection. In this video, I'm breaking down 5 powerful signs that an avoidant truly loves you. No more second guessing, no more confusion. From how they come back after pulling away, to when they share something they've never told anyone, you'll understand the quiet but deep language of avoidant love. If you're tired of feeling stuck in emotional limbo, if you're waiting for clarity from someone who struggles to speak it, watch this video all the way through. And don't forget to subscribe, because here, we don't just talk about love. We talk about the truth inside messy love and how to stay whole within it. The first thing, and often the most overlooked, is this. You need to understand the core wound behind the avoidant, not to excuse them, not to justify half-hearted love, but so you can know exactly where you stand and never lose your self-worth in their silence or distance. Avoidants don't behave this way out of nowhere. They were once children who had to figure out emotions on their own. They may have had food, shelter, and school, but what they lacked was emotional presence, comfort, the timely hug. So they grew up believing, I can only rely on myself. Intimacy is risky. Getting close means losing control. This wound isn't always visible. It hides behind their conflict avoidance, emotional shutdowns, or sudden need for space right when you start getting close. And here's the twist. The moment they start to feel real emotions, their deepest fears roar back the loudest. Because for them, to love is to risk. To love is to lose control. To love is to let someone see the vulnerable parts they've locked away their entire life. But if you look closely, you'll notice something different when an avoidant truly loves you. They're still afraid, but they don't run. They still need space, but they don't disappear. They still struggle, but they stay. They let the relationship unfold slowly. They agree to meet, to talk, to share slivers of their life with you. Not a lot, but real. They don't sabotage the relationship when it hits key milestones like dating officially, living together, or discussing the future. These are powerful signs that they're choosing you despite the fear, and that deserves to be seen. I don't say this so you'll keep sacrificing for someone who isn't ready. I say this so you can learn the difference between neglect and effort. When an avoidant truly loves, it doesn't come in grand gestures. It comes like an underground river, quiet, steady, real. And you must learn how to see it without losing yourself to it, because real love never asks you to abandon self-respect. It asks you to stand tall and be clear-eyed enough to know whether this is love that's growing or just you getting lost in hope. One of the clearest, most silent tests of whether an avoidant truly loves you is how they respond to the big relationship milestone. For many people, milestones like first dates, becoming official, meeting the family, moving in together, or talking about marriage are normal, expected steps. But for an avoidant, these moments feel like red alert territory. Why? Because every milestone invites deeper intimacy and more emotional exposure. And for avoidants, the closer they get, the more vulnerable they feel. The more committed things become, the more they fear losing themselves. Their early wounds whisper, depend on someone and you'll get hurt. So every milestone touches the wound. That's why they sometimes pull away right after an amazing weekend together. You wonder, things were going so well, why are they distant now? The answer is, even closeness feels like pressure for them. But when they truly love you, something remarkable happens. They still move forward. They might hesitate. They might go silent for a few days. They might need time to process their feelings. But they don't vanish. They don't cut off. They come back and continue building with you. That's a love that's choosing you despite the fear. Because for avoidance, moving forward isn't instinct, it's a decision. They don't love with fireworks and drama. They love with quiet steps that, for them, feel like inner revolutions. So if your partner doesn't bolt when you ask, what are we? If they don't freak out when you mention moving in or getting married one day, notice that. They may not say, I want to marry you right away. but they're showing it by staying, moving slowly, and trying. And you who loves them need the emotional maturity to see that slow progress is not lack of love. Slow and steady is still progress. I know, if you feel deeply, you probably crave something more clear, more immediate. But don't let your hunger for certainty blind you to the truth. They're choosing you every single day in the only way they know how. So hold your self-respect high as you witness these small wins. Don't chase, don't test. They'll show you if you're awake enough to see it. One of the strongest signs an avoidant truly loves you doesn't come from what they say. It comes from how they return after they pull away. Withdrawal is instinctive for them. When emotions run deep, when things move too fast, when they start to feel out of control, they retreat. Not because they don't care, but because they're fighting an old fear of being engulfed, of losing themselves, of getting hurt like before. This is where many people, especially anxious types, fall into the trap. The avoidant pulls back, and you panic, you chase, you text, you call, you push. But for the avoidant, pressure equals danger. And eventually, they'll disappear for good. A secure, self-respecting person handles it differently. When the avoidant pulls away, they don't chase, they step back too. Not out of punishment, but out of emotional respect. They understand the avoidant needs space to process. And here's the powerful part: if that person truly loves you, they'll come back. Not because you beg, but because they want to. Because your calm made them feel safe. Because your silence didn't threaten, it soothed them. It's just like fishing. You don't yank the line. You wait, still and patient, and let the fish come back when it feels ready. Every time an avoidant returns after pulling away, it's a small step toward emotional security. It's their nervous system learning, I can step back without being abandoned. I can return without being punished. And that builds trust more than any romantic declaration ever could. But this only works if you don't lose yourself in the waiting. You don't sit around worrying. You don't make them your everything. You live your life. You go to work. You hang out with friends. You stay grounded. You show them. You choose them, but you don't need them to survive. That's what real emotional power looks like. No chasing, no clinging, no emotional war game. Just calm, clear, magnetic presence. Because love doesn't need to be held tight. It needs space to return on its own. And if they do come back slowly, intentionally, then you'll know you didn't have to win their love. It found its way back to you because you were the safe place they never wanted to lose. There's something rarely talked about but deeply real for avoidance. They get easily intrigued and easily bored, not because they're shallow, but because they tend to idealize early on, then withdraw once they feel they've figured you out. This is what's known as the Phantom X syndrome, when an avoidant becomes fixated on the idea of a perfect, unattainable partner. One who's always intriguing, never too close, never threatening their independence. But once reality sets in that you, like everyone, have needs, wounds, and emotions, they start to retreat. It may feel unfair, but it's how their defense mechanisms operate. So what does that mean? Should you pretend to be mysterious forever? Absolutely not. That's not real and it's not sustainable. Instead, understand what truly keeps them engaged, and it starts with you. Avoidants are drawn to unexplored depth, to growth, to evolution. Not because you're changing for them, but because you're alive in your own life. You're learning something new, investing in your passions, expanding your world. You're living with purpose that doesn't revolve around them. And the beauty is, that doesn't just attract them, it strengthens you. Avoidants crave curiosity, but only when it's grounded in emotional safety. They don't chase drama or chaos. They're pulled toward someone with layers, someone who reveals something new each time they connect. Maybe you're quiet, but you write poetry. Outgoing, but reflective at night. Broken before, but still brave enough to love again. That's depth. That's real magnetism. Remember, lasting relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on growth. If you stop exploring yourself, stop evolving, boredom will set in no matter who your partner is. With avoidance, this is twice as true. Because once they feel they know everything about you, they can panic. Not because you're boring, but because their sense of mystery collapses. And they'll subconsciously step back searching for intrigue elsewhere. So the goal isn't to keep them, it's to keep you. To keep your curiosity, your aliveness, your quiet secrets you treasure, not to attract them, but because that's how you become your fullest self. And if they truly love you, they'll see that and want to keep discovering you, loving you, and growing with you every step of the way. When you love someone with an avoidant attachment style, you have to let go of the glamorous ideas of love shaped by movies. With them, affection isn't easily verbalized, nor is it shown through grand romantic gestures or dramatic declarations. They love quietly, cautiously, and at times, the only way you'll know they care is if you're sensitive and patient enough to notice the subtleties. One of the clearest signs is that they express love through actions rather than words. They won't say, "I miss you" every night, but they'll bring your favorite coffee without asking, quietly charge your phone when you fall asleep, or fix a broken lock in your house without being asked. These seemingly small acts, for them, are significant efforts to express love in a way that feels emotionally safe. This goes hand in hand with another invaluable quality: consistency and steadiness. They're not the type to shower you with affection for 3 days and then disappear for 10. On the contrary, when an avoidant person truly cares, you'll feel a steady rhythm. They're there when it matters. They stay in touch not excessively, but consistently enough to let you know they're present. They pursue you with quiet persistence, not with emotional fireworks. And that quiet persistence builds a deeper sense of trust than any "I love you" ever could. Another quality that makes the love of an avoidant person so meaningful is how they respect personal boundaries. They don't invade your space when you need solitude. They don't pressure you for immediate replies. They allow you to be yourself, and they don't require constant emotional cooperation like more clingy styles of love. Their love is mature, rooted in the understanding that true intimacy begins with respecting each other's independence. And when they feel emotionally safe enough, you'll start to see them share more of themselves, not in grand emotional floods, but piece by piece, a childhood story, an unspoken fear, an experience that made them shut down. They don't share to impress, they share because they trust you. And that kind of sharing is a gift, a rare sign that they're beginning to dismantle the emotional armor they've worn for years. Each piece they give you is an invitation to step deeper into their inner world, a world few have ever been allowed to enter. Their love language is often acts of service. That means they show love by doing things for you, not by talking about it. They express affection through quiet presence and practical support, getting your bike fixed, showing up when you're stuck in traffic, or helping you sort through a problem you haven't even had time to ask for help with. It's not loud, but it's solid, steady, and sincere. Unfortunately, if you're not emotionally attuned, you might overlook or undervalue these gestures simply because they don't look like the kind of love you expect from romantic comedies or social media reels. But if you are sensitive enough to see these things and strong enough to remain yourself while loving an avoidant person, then you're witnessing a rare kind of love that doesn't dazzle but goes deep. A love that doesn't overwhelm you but steadies you. A love that needs no performance to prove itself, yet still leaves you with the quiet certainty: I'm being chosen not loudly, but solidly. If you're in a relationship with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, chances are you've felt a certain ambiguity, emotional limbo, and maybe even lone line 7 while being in a relationship. You long for clarity, for open declarations of affection, for emotional intensity, but instead, you're met with silence, space, and a pace that feels slow to the point of standing still. However, if you understand how avoidants love, you'll realize that their love doesn't live in words, it lives in choices, actions, and steady, quiet presence. Stop waiting for an "I love you" or a sweeping romantic gesture as the only measure of their feelings. Because for an avoidant, words can feel threatening. Instead, pay attention to the real, grounded, and lasting signs of their affection. They don't react strongly to relationship milestones. If they used to panic or pull away when the relationship moved forward, talks about commitment, moving in, or a shared future, but this time, they stay. That's a clear sign. They love you enough to keep moving forward. Maybe it's not fast, maybe it's quiet, But the fact that they're still here, that's love overcoming fear. 2, they share deep, hidden parts of themselves. Avoidants are notoriously private. But if they begin to open up to you about pain, their past, or things they've never told anyone, it's because they trust you. Every time they let you see a part of their soul, they're saying, I'm trying to let you in, even if I don't know how. Vulnerability isn't random. It's sacred. 3, they withdraw, but come back. Avoidants often pull away as a defense mechanism, not because they don't care, but because their nervous system is overwhelmed. But the difference with love is this: they come back. Every return, no matter how quiet, says, I still choose you, even with all my fears. And if you don't chase them, but stay grounded instead, they'll trust you more each time. 4, they stay curious about your inner world. Avoidants don't stay in relationships out of obligation. They stay when there's continued intrigue. If you keep growing, evolving, discovering new parts of yourself, they'll keep feeling drawn to you. As long as they feel there's more to explore in you, the bond stays alive. So here's the truth. Don't lose yourself in loving them. Instead, deepen your love for yourself. 5, they show love through actions, not words. Avoidance won't sweep you off your feet with poetic declarations, but they'll remember to bring a jacket when it's cold, fix your phone when you're overwhelmed, pick up your favorite food without you asking. Every quiet act is them saying, I care, I see you, I love you, even if they never say it out loud. Loving someone with an avoidant attachment style isn't for the impatient. But if you're strong enough to not need performance, wise enough to not mistake silence for apathy, and self-respecting enough to not chase, then you'll begin to see the real love beneath the stillness, a love with roots. You don't have to fix them, and you don't have to sacrifice yourself to be loved. What you need is to stand strong in your own value, to recognize the signs they do show you, and to clearly distinguish between someone who's loving you and someone who's just filling a gap. Real love doesn't need proof. It needs presence quiet, but unwavering. And if you're seeing these signs, know this: you are being loved in their way. Now the question is their way enough for you? Because you deserve clarity. You deserve consistency. You deserve reciprocity, not just from them, but from yourself.